Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Welcome, everybody, to the Friends in Recovery podcast with Jersey Ed. And I'm your host, Jersey Ed, guys, along with my two co-hosts, Buckeye, Bambi, and Super Beth. Hello, ladies. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good. I had jury duty today.
Oh, you like that deep voice? Maybe that's why we got shut down.
I would be afraid. Weird. I'm afraid they'd keep me.
Oh God, jury duty. That's not good. Or it is.
Yeah, I got on. I took the day off of work.
Yeah.
If I told you the whole story, it would take up too much time. But
we've been here a long time, Ray. So fuck your story. So
yeah. But basically, I finally get on, and they're like, "Oh, you don't have to be here, and you're good for the next 3 years."
Oh.
So I rearranged my kitchen, or I'm in the process of doing it.
Well, would you want to go rearrange your kitchen and we'll wait for you? You want to go do that and we'll just wait for you since you were late anyways. So, hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you what who's today's guest is. He's sitting here right on our screen. He has the haircut that I have, and he's a good-looking guy, Joe Ortiz. He's an interventionist, person in long-term recovery, and the cursing Christian, guys. So stay tuned for some amazing recovery. We'll bring him on in a minute. But if you do want to leave Beth a message on our phone line, you can call us at 800-989-6504 and tell her to get the hell out of the kitchen, come back to the podcast, right? Or if you want to email us, help at friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. You can email us that way or check out our website, friendsinrecoverycommunity.org, or you can send us mail directly. Mail. Does anybody use mail anymore? No, right? No. All right.
No.
Email, I think it is. Email.
I don't even like using email. Just text me.
Just text me.
Don't leave me a voicemail. Just text me.
You know what's the worst? All right, now you got me going. All right. So text messages. So you text somebody and it's like you're either driving or you can't get your point across or whatever. And then you go to call them. You literally just hit send and then you hit call. They don't pick up. Did you guys ever experience that?
Yeah, it's a thing now.
Why?
You know, both of my kids, literally their voicemail message says something to the effect of, "I'm never going to hear this. Text me."
Oh my God. That is funny. Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. It's mainly the younger generation, I guess. I don't know. I mean, not that I'm old, but I am anyway,
the younger generation.
So email us, but text Beth. I'm going to give you her phone number. No, email us at whatever. I don't, just email us. You'll see all our numbers down here or everything below us. You guys will get it. Also look for us on our social media, Friends in Recovery communities. Look all over on whatever. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment, and give us a 5-star review. Bambi and Beth, what month is it? What are we doing this month?
Mental health.
Yes, mental health month. That's why we have Joe on here, because he's examining us and our mental health, where we're going to be at.
I'm mental for sure.
Also, guys, it is mental health. That's right. It is mental health month. So topics we try to stay on the mental health issues if we can. Bambi, that show last week that we did was excellent. I mean, lots of views. I think people love this mental health stuff. So, let's keep it going, right? I mean,
I agree.
Yeah.
We're going to clear through the month of May.
That's right. So, and we also need an intern that does something. I don't know. Just contact Bambi at her email address that you guys see there. Here it is. So it is anti-Purple Heart Day today. Yes! Anti. All right.
Oh no, that ain't going to happen.
So give Bambi a Purple Heart if you want. Because that's what everybody does. Beth, Black Hearts, Ed, Jersey Ed, Blue Hearts, and Joe, our special guest, Red Hearts. Give him some red hearts. Let's see some red hearts there. Also, I'd like to thank all the donors who made this show possible. And don't forget, Friends in Recovery Podcast is part of the Fire Network now, guys. For more information on both of those, go to friendsinrecoverycommunity.org and you can get all that information on there. Joe, you ask, what is the Fire Network?
What's the Fire Network?
Oh, I thought you asked that. I couldn't tell.
I had to repeat myself.
I did that just for Beth. You'll have to go to friendsinrecoverycommunity.org to find out.
We'll do.
All right, good. Thanks, Joe. I didn't want to explain it anyways. All right, so it is that time of the show for some sober shout outs, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to start with our guest, Joe Ortiz, right? Ortiz, yeah. Ortiz, Joe Ortiz. Yeah. It's probably a very easy, common name to read, and I cannot do it.
I know it's spelled like you want to say it Ortiz, right? Because
Ortiz.
You got to say it like it's two
Ortiz.
E's, one Z, like Ortiz. Yeah.
Tees. All right, Ortiz. All right, we got it. Joe, any sober shout outs? Anybody in the community you want to recognize? Anything?
Wasn't really ready.
That's okay.
Can you guys go and maybe come back to me?
We'll come back.
Somebody? Yeah,
absolutely. Carl, can you get him out of this show? No, I'm kidding. See you later.
All right.
No. Bambi, go ahead. Any sober shout outs?
I have no sober shout outs this week.
Wow. Okay. Very good. Beth, you always have somebody and you like air their names out, their last names or address, their shirt sizes. I know. You're like, tell them everything. No, not really.
I got nothing, man. I'm going to shout out to my boss. She'll never see this, but she's super cool. I like my boss.
There you go. I love my boss. You know my boss. I love my boss.
I know your boss. Your boss is epic.
He is, right?
He really is.
He is an amazing guy.
Does Beth's boss have a name? First name?
Julia.
All right. Because I'm taking notes. So
Julia.
Right. Julia. My boss, Julia. She's a very cool lady. And I'm learning a lot from her.
I'll keep going. Sorry. So Julia, I don't worry, Joe, because every guest on here wonders why at this point of the show, why they're on at this point. Yep. They're scratching their head saying,
why am I here?
What
did I sign up for?
Yeah. See, Bambi reels you in being super nice and texting back and forth. And then we come in here and we just blow it all. That's it. We just destroy everything at this point in the show. So, oh, God. I do have a sober shout out, guys. I have a sober shout out to SoberPod. Right?
A new one. Something you need.
No, it is because I would like to give a shout out to SoberPod with Carl and Jersey Ed. Huh?
I know it released. Ed was on and it released.
I was co-hosting last week's show with Carl. So it's SoberPod with Carl and Jersey Ed.
I feel like you're talking about yourself in the third person.
Well, I kind of am. Right?
You weirdo.
This show is going so wrong, guys. And don't forget that we have. That's it.
Go listen to that episode.
Yes, go listen to SoberPod, guys. It is a good episode. Carl asked me late Sunday, this past Sunday, he asked me if I can come on his show. And I was like, yeah, right, not a problem. And we did it, and it was actually a good show. So he's right in his 366 fucking days of the year, whatever it is, of what's it called, Bambi? 366 fucking days. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Beth, you were right, because I asked him on the show, why is it 366? Because of leap year. You were 100% right. So there you go. And
that never happened, but thank you for making that recorded.
Oh, God. All right.
I'm going to make a soundbite out of that.
So go listen to SoberPod and listen to that guy, Jersey Ed. He's pretty good over there.
The Hero, right? Is that the one? The
Hero. Yeah, the show is Hero. Yes, Hero. And you'll find out what it's about. It was all about me, too, Carl said.
Well, I think I have a shout out now that I know what it is.
There you go. See, I was just waiting to go. It's like...
so I'm not going to use his last name, but my buddy Dan P. Is one of the nicest young men you'll meet in the substance use disorder profession or realm, if you will.
Okay.
It's his birthday today.
All right, Dan.
And also he's coming up on a year sober, and I'm really proud of him.
Dan P. Dan? You know Dan?
Dan P. Yeah. Love you, buddy. Good job.
Very good. Congratulations, Dan, on your year, and happy birthday. 2 important days of the year. When I was born and when I was reborn, I always say.
Me too. So,
don't forget that we have twice daily AA meetings on Zoom, sometimes 3 times. You can find them all on our website, friendsandrecoverycommunity.org. We have to update that website. If you need any information, email us and we'll give it to you. So, guys, here it is. You ready?
Question of the week.
Question of the week. Right? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Question
of the week.
Question of the week.
God, we're really bad this week. Sorry, Joe. So the question of the week, guys, do you feel like you can relax and unwind before bed, or do you have trouble winding down? Now that I'm trying to go with some mental health questions. So I'm guessing that's like a big mental health question. I guess that therapists, I don't know. So I just want to know, does anybody have a problem winding down before they go to bed, or can they just relax and go to sleep? Joe, I'm going to throw it right at you. What how would you answer that question?
So, at this point in my life and in my recovery, I really don't have a problem winding down and falling asleep. I love movies and Netflix and stuff. So I'm usually watching something, and then once the eyes start to get heavy, I just go upstairs and call it a day.
There you go.
Night. In early sobriety, though, I really had there's a lot going on up here. And there's a lot going on around me. That first year especially was really tough, and I did not sleep well that first year of sobriety. So, but now I do. So anyone out there in early sobriety having trouble, so hang in there. It gets
normal. It does get better. Beth, how about you? Do you have trouble sleeping or?
No. So even in my worst moments, my stress response is to sleep.
That's right. The basement, Beth. How can we forget?
But even on good nights, I have a whole bedtime routine. Like I go upstairs at 9:00 most nights. If I'm not upstairs by 9:00 or at 9:00, my husband's like, "Are you okay?" But I go upstairs, like I do audiobook and I do my 11-step inventory, and I just kind of chill, and I'm usually asleep anywhere between an hour, like a half hour and an hour, and I'm out.
Wow. Okay. Beth has a bedtime routine. Very good, Beth. Very good. Bambi, you got to do something before you go to sleep. I mean, I
do the same thing I've done for years, and it works. Now, when I was away at my brother's, I didn't have a working TV, but I have to watch, and this sounds crazy, but some kind of crime show. So Forensic Files, Law and Order is on 24/7, some channel, one form or another of Law and Order. But I got to watch some kind of crime show. I put it on, I'm asleep in a half hour, and eventually my TV shuts off.
There you go. But crime shows to go to sleep. Beth,
I know, right?
Joe just goes to sleep. That's it. He's done.
Lately, it's been documentaries for me. So,
all right, there you go. So my new sleep thing is tapping. Right, I do a tapping.
Oh, that's amazing.
I put lavender. Don't send letters, but I put lavender on my hands and on my bracelet. And I kind of wipe my face and I do some breathing techniques. I do some tapping and I'm out. I don't even watch TV anymore. I used to turn the TV on. It just kind of does me in. And sometimes I do. I really don't have a hard time sleeping. I have my problem is like at the end of the sleep, I get up, I go to the bathroom, I lay back down. So that happens around 3:30, 4 o'clock. So I just decided I'm going to just get up at 4 o'clock. Why just try to go back to sleep for another hour and fight it? I can do some things in the morning. I pray a little bit more. And then when I start running again, I'll still have that extra time so I can get out the door by about 6:30 to go running. So I'm preparing for my running, guys. So that's why I have the problem is on the back end of things, not really on the front end of things. So,
dude, I love getting up early.
I know.
Like, when I'm in a good space and I'm like, I don't have to, when I'm, the depression or, the broken foot isn't driving me up a wall. like my time to get up is anywhere between 4 and 6 a.m.
There you
Just
go.
naturally wake up.
Yeah.
And I love having a quiet morning and come downstairs and have a cup of coffee and maybe look at my email, maybe watch TikTok, maybe go outside and stare at my seedlings and see if
There
they
you
grow.
go.
But yeah, I love getting up early.
Quiet mornings. Speaking of quiet, guys, we're going to bring on our guest now. He's just like, he goes, the show should be done by now, but it's just begun, Joe, just begun. So Joe Ortiz, he's an interventionist. He is a person in long-time recovery. He's the cursing Christian. Joe and I talk all the time on the phone. Weird way of, he's from Jersey. I'm from Jersey, but I met him. He was down in Virginia doing an intervention. That's where I met him in Virginia. I was introduced to Joe when we were both from Jersey. So anyways, Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Have you seen our show? You know, this is what we do and we piss people off up at this point. Okay, good. All right.
I have watched it. Yeah. It's a fun show. Yeah.
It is fun. We always try to have fun on here. So now, since it's Mental Health Month, I know you do, interventions. I know you do what kind of the cursing Christian and all that stuff. But what's your thoughts on mental health? Is it still kind of, are we bringing it more to the front? Do you see more mental health interventions? Are we kind of spotlighting mental health now to make it a little bit more accessible, like, cancer or heart attacks or whatever along those lines?
I think so. By the way, we're going to have to explain that cursing Christian thing.
Yeah, we will. Don't worry. We'll get it.
I definitely see an increased awareness on mental health. I think that it's become very important for people to not just bring awareness about the different types of mental health issues a person can have, but also to help remove the stigma, right? And help people understand that it's okay. You don't have to hide in the shadows, right? Mm-hmm. You can get help, right? Talk about it. And so I see a lot of that going on, like on social media, even in our industry, and even just in general, which is very encouraging because a lot of people need help.
Yeah.
So I would say that there's definitely a greater awareness, and I'm glad for it.
Yeah. And you and I spoke. Well, we had some technical difficulties, and we've been on for the last hour talking. So, but you and I spoke earlier. You said you're an open book, and you can decline the question. But was there any mental health issues throughout your recovery, at the beginning of your recovery, before your recovery? Was there anything that you had to address or still addressing?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
All of the above.
All of the above. Okay.
Yeah, I've had, I now know today, I know that it's bipolar. That's what I've been diagnosed.
Okay. Okay.
But I had depression my whole life from when I was a kid, and the highs and lows, I experienced that. So that, and then I got some ADD going on, I've had to really train myself to focus, be organized, but it's still a challenge, and I'm treated for both. Part of my self-care is that, as a matter of fact, I met with my psychiatrist this morning for my 4-month follow-up.
Good.
I've known her for, she's taken care of me for like 17, 18 years now. She's amazing. Wow. And I wasn't treated when I was a kid, so I had to endure. Mm-hmm. And then as a young man, actually earlier, I learned to cope with that in ways that I now see totally translated into my addiction as an adult. In other words, I would escape with food and with movies. That was my escape from the chaos in my head, and then the chaos around me too, because my mother was also untreated bipolar, and you never knew what you were going to get. So all of the above, right? When I was a kid, and then when I got older, I found my solution, which was at first alcohol. Right.
But that settled that shit right down, man.
For the first time, right? My mind got quiet, right? I felt good. I felt at peace, the anxiety was gone. And so, alcohol, and then it turned to other things as well. So I self-medicated for a long time is the point. And today though, I'm I get treated as part of my self-care, and I take care of it the right way.
Yeah, well, you're talking about, when we, and I think all of us can honestly say, because I know the ladies pretty well, I think we all can honestly say when we did use that drug or drank that drink, it definitely calmed that mental health piece down, no doubt about it, for each one of us. But it destroyed the rest of our lives, and it only calmed that mental health piece down for a little bit. I mean, it was not worth the, it was not worth the dose of medication that I would take to calm all that down. And if you took too much, it goes the other way. It just, just didn't work out well, and I ladies, I know, Beth, you work in the mental health field. And do you see that all the time with the alcohol kind of doing that, or exactly what Joe was saying, the family, he was around his family and all that. So, as far as untreated.
It's interesting. In the last couple of years, I've really definitely seen our entire industry really start to wrap its head around nobody is just an alcoholic, right? So, and I've always, sorry, that's my alarm.
What else can go wrong on this show?
I know, right? So I've definitely watched the entire industry start to shift towards more co-occurring issues, right? Everybody has experienced trauma. And the way that I look at treatment now is you got to go in for that 28 days and just take the pause to put a plan together, because you can't address trauma. You can't address like the major underlying mental health issues until you have a mode of knowing how not to pick up a drink.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is true until you can't pick up a drink. Bambi, I'm going to throw this part of this question towards you too. Bambi, just to let you know, Joe, Bambi is a nurse on this show, not on TV also, but she plays one in real life.
I thought I recognized her.
Yes, I know you did. But Bambi, the mental health world now, with all these medications coming in and people accepting it more freely, does it really work? I mean, and can you just pop a pill and be free of all your mental health?
Well, you can't pop a pill and be free of it. But if you don't pop the pill, you also sometimes can't be free of it. So I think that it's much more, people are more willing to take an antidepressant if they're diagnosed with clinical depression, like old school time, back then it's like, oh, you don't need anything to recover. You don't need that. But sometimes your mental health issues do need treatment, actual medication treatment, along with counseling. And I think that it's just a lot more common that people self-medicate to cover up for those other, to cover up. And so that's the addiction. Where the addiction starts, this is self-medication, grief, trauma, OCD, depression, just all of those things that actually need treated with medication.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, I don't know how long you go back, but I know Beth goes way back further than I do in my recovery. I remember in the rooms when an old timer would say, you can't be taking that medication and showing up here in these fucking meetings. That drove me nuts. I mean, I wasn't on medication at the time, but I am now. I got it all sorted out. And like you said, everything's good. You take what you have to take, and life is so much better today. But, that always kind of like, I like, is this guy a doctor? Is this woman a doctor? Like, why are we telling people I love AA. It saved my life, but it's not AA's business to tell anybody if they can take medication or not. And I know people are going to say, I mean, it's just not, what's your thoughts on that? Because I know you're a big program guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question, and I do remember those days. And thankfully, I've seen a change in the rooms as well, where people are more accepting of the fact that we need more, right? It's interesting, as you both were talking, Bambi and yourself, I was thinking about the Big Book, and the Big Book talks about underlying causes and conditions, right? There's more, the Big Book talks about it. Yeah. I have a feeling that a lot of these people who would say, oh, you're not supposed to be taking anything, no antidepressants, maybe they didn't read that part of the Big Book, or maybe they didn't read the Big Book. I don't know, not judging, but it was very ignorant. And like yourself, Bambi, I'm also a clinician. I started in healthcare 32 years ago as a respiratory therapist. So I'm not a nurse, but I know a lot about medicine and science and, physiology, pathophysiology, right, of the brain. And I've known for a long time that these are chemical imbalances, man. And it's no different from having a heart condition. right?
Absolutely.
Something's wrong with that particular organ in your body. Guess what? The brain's an organ too. So there could be defects there, right? You might have been born with it. Most times you are, or they can also be inflicted or brought on by trauma, right? Because we know that trauma can also induce actual physical changes in the brain, you know? So, yeah, it's a great question. And I'm just so glad that nowadays it seems like we still have work to do, I think, in the rooms, you know, but there is a wider acceptance. You know, I think, you know, another generation has come into the rooms as well. And so, yeah, sobriety for me, the formula was, you know, you were talking before about how, you know, when I mentioned that it was my solution for a time, right? I self-medicated, but then it turned on me, right? And what a vicious cycle, right? Because once I was not high or drunk, my symptoms were through the roof, right? Like they were so much worse.
Yeah.
So for me, it was plug in the jug, get sober, get active in the program with my sponsor, right? Go through the big book, because I did that, right? I firmly believe in that, but also simultaneously for me, again, get back with my psychiatrist and start to treat my depression, right? Get into therapy with my therapist of many, many years, get back into therapy. And, you know, it was work, but it was a formula for success. It was a recipe for success, you know?
So yeah, you're talking about getting therapy, taking your medications. It's not just like I said before to Bambi, you know, is it just popping a pill? It's not just that. You have to do, I feel you have to do, and again, I'm not a therapist or anything, but you got to take care of yourself in every way possible, you know? And I want to switch a little bit here to, your beliefs, you know, as far as, you know, kind of what you and I always talk about. We introduced you as a cursing Christian. I want to go a little bit deep into that. I know I switched complete gears, but this is the reason why I switched complete gears, because I know a lot of people, right? And this will tie into what I was just talking about. I know a lot of people that just go to church and they don't do AA anymore. All I need is God. I don't need AA anymore. I don't need to exercise. I just need to go to church, and that is it. Unfortunately, most of those people relapsed because, you know, I know God wouldn't let me down, but my mind can perceive it different ways. Well, why did that person die in my life? You know, maybe God, it doesn't love me. Well, there's a reason. I don't know what the reason was why that person died in my life. But now if I'm only hanging on to God and saying, you know, now I'm mad at God and that falls off. Now what do I do? I'm vulnerable. I'm right there. I don't have a program to go back on. I don't have a sponsor. I don't, you know, I'm not doing other things to keep me going. And I said this 100 times on the show before. My running was is still a huge part of my recovery, but it's not my recovery. It's not all my recovery. I don't live to go running for my recovery. I love running, but I haven't ran for the last 6 months. And if I depended on just my running, it would have been a nightmare to keep me sober. So that's why I said, you know, the cursing Christian. Talk a little bit about that. What's that name and why? How did you get it? And are you correcting it? Is anybody healing you over it?
I hope people are praying for me.
Yes.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yes, there you go.
What's that, Bambi?
I'll put it in the show notes for people to pray for.
All right. So that's actually a name that I just started calling myself, trying to be having these conversations, these religious or spiritual conversations, right? I'm a Christian. I was born and raised a Christian, and I love my faith, you know, and the central part of that faith is the Lord Jesus, right? So I love the Lord. I do. However, right, like as much as I've tried to improve myself through the years and depend on him, right? He's my higher power, give my life over to him. The one piece that I really continually take back is my mouth, like just the cursing, you know? And so, you know, I'm having the first part of our conversation, like me and a person, right, is like, you know, this effing guy, blah, blah, you know, and then somehow we segue into religion and I start quoting scripture, you know, and I feel like such a hypocrite. I'm like, I know. I'm the cursing Christian. I know. He loves me, he forgives me. I'm working on it, you know, that kind of thing. So that's where that came in.
And like we were talking before, because we did have a long time before the show started because of all the difficulties we're having, but we need to use it in appropriate places. I mean, you know, it's there's a place and a time for it. And, you know, I'm not saying that everybody should go out there and curse. I'm not saying that, you know, that's the cool thing to do. It's just part of, but it is. Yes. But it's just part of kind of, you guys know on here, you know, the show, it's just part of who I am. And I do use it appropriately. I do use it, you know, if I do curse, and I mean nothing about it. There's nothing bad that I say about it. And I know that's with you too, Joe. When you're, you know, when you and I have those great conversations, ladies,
very well, by the way.
Fucking thank you very much.
Could I touch on something that you mentioned though?
Yeah.
You know, faith was very important my whole life, but in my recovery, my early recovery, and even throughout now, right? But you mentioned something that you knew of people who relied just on going to church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I tried that years ago, right? And it would work for a time, but then I'd relapse, you know? And what I know today, or at least what my experience has been, is that, yes, I knew who God was, right? Or who my God was, you know? But I was being blocked by him, right? There was too much that I was carrying here and up in here that was not allowing me to truly engage in a relationship with him. And it was only when I went through the steps with my sponsor and I did the 4th step and the 5th step, right? Where I wrote everything down, right? I got rid of it. I uncluttered, right? Yes. The clutter was gone. And then, as the big book says, the sunlight of the spirit was able to come in.
Yeah.
You know? That is when I was truly able to engage in a relationship with the God of my understanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So I need it all. I need it all. God brought me to the rooms.
Yes. Yeah.
My God brought me to the rooms for a reason. Go and clutter yourself, Joe. Go take care of all that baggage you're carrying, and then we could get into
well, that's where the disease comes in. I believe that, you know, it fogs our brain. It makes us think, okay, well, you know, I can run, or I can go to church, I can do this, and I don't need anything else, you know. And I you know, you said it. I relapsed a few times just having that one thing in my life. You know, life is about a balance. You know, we have nurses, we have therapists, we have Beth and myself on, and but you know, you can't just eat like all vegetables all day long, or, well, you can, but you have to pair it with some protein. Or you can't eat meat all day long. You can't just eat junk food all day long. You know, you have to have a well-balanced, some days you could, but you have to have a well-balanced meal to keep your body the way it needs to be kept, you know. And let's look at some people out there that just live on McDonald's and junk food, right? I mean, what's their health? Beth, why are you still laughing? You're not a frequent flyer out of McDonald's, are you?
Well, but I mean, you don't build a house and only get someone that can do plumbing.
Exactly.
I mean, you have an electrician and you have someone that, you know, I mean, balance all the way around, I think, is important for anything, not just alcohol and addicts, but maybe especially for alcohol and addicts. But we need a little bit of everything to have that balance.
I think that it's really important to remember, especially during Mental Health Month, is that we're, as a class of people, alcoholics and addicts, are way more sensitive than non-alcoholic and addicts. The things that affect us more deeper and easier. We're big babies. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah. No, you're right. It does affect us. You know, I think it affects us in the deeper, like you said, and then it comes out on surface later. Because I know I like to hold shit in. And
then it comes out sideways. You know, like
it does,
the dark bark's too loud or at the wrong time, and I'm like, my face is turning beet red.
I know.
Squirrel comes and eats.
Exactly.
Shit,
Joe,
I just thought of the squirrel.
Yeah, it's the squirrel, dude.
Oh, you got to take your medication. Anybody think of a squirrel right now? Go take your medication.
Go take your meds.
Right, squirrel. No, Joe, you were saying something about faith. What is faith? To you, what is faith? It could be I have faith in the program that I'm going to stay sober. I have faith in God that I'm going to be guided. But what's faith to you?
Like faith in general, I suppose is, for me, hope and belief in someone or something or God, right? Like I have faith in my sponsor, right? He walked me through the steps. I know I can depend on him and rely on him, and he if I let him, he'll guide me through things, right? And I have let him do that. So there's different types of faith, I think, and then there's the faith with your higher power, right? I mean, that also for me is about belief and trust and dependency, right? Counting on him that he'll see me through whatever it is that I have to face.
Yeah.
So yeah, faith. That's what faith pretty much is for me.
Good. Great. No wrong or right answer. No right or wrong answer. But let me ask. Let's go the opposite of that. Fear. Do you ever have fear, and that overcomes your faith once in a while? This is another, like, in my opinion, ignorant thing that I've heard said in AA. Well, faith and fear cannot coexist. That's bullshit. I mean,
that's like one of those like quick lines that people say, like, just turn it over.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean by that? Why faith and fear can exist? Why?
Well, because we're human beings. We're just flesh and blood. We have emotions, we have feelings, we have thoughts, right? And God doesn't expect me to be perfect. No. He knows I love him and that I have faith in him, and I know that I can't lose my relationship with him unless I turn my back on him, right? He also understands, in my opinion, my humanness, right? And that I am going to feel fear. Yeah. That's when I have to pray and reach out to him so that he can give me the courage to get through that. Yeah. Right. I want to say to people, don't we talk about that in church? Yeah. Like, what do you mean faith and fear can't coexist? Are you crazy? So
I mean, if you think think about it. My definition of bravery is feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
And pushing through, right? That's courage, right?
Great, right? So bravery, that's having faith that God's going to have my back and I'm not going to fall off a cliff, even though I don't see a cliff. Like, that's bravery. So of course, faith and fear coexist.
Yeah. Bambi, what's your thoughts on that, Bambi?
No, I exactly what Beth said. I agree with that 100% because you have to, and we talked about this in Courage Month, actually, that you have to, your courage is all about overcoming the fear. You still have faith. Your faith doesn't leave you. No. But in order to have courage, that's what it is to overcome the fear.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like faith and fear can exist, but one might be bigger than the other in parts of time in your life, and another might be bigger in parts of time in your life. And what's the old saying? You have to push through fear to get to faith. So, how
you manage it.
Yeah, it's exactly how you manage it. Because if you push through fear, what are you going to get to more fear? No. Well, maybe if you want, but once you get through that and you push through it, there's the faith, the hope and a belief, right? The hope and belief that once I get through this fear, whatever it is, the bad doctor report, the loss of a job, a loved one that might have passed on, whatever it is, I know if I push through that, up in being fearful of all that, like, how am I going to do it without this person, whatever, I know it's on the other side. It's waiting for me. And I just got to push through it. Just like Joe said, they both coexist. I just have to tilt the scales differently when I'm going through all that. And, that's where the hope and, like with Joe, I love how you said hope and belief. I have the hope and belief that it's all going to work out. I'm going to say my prayers. I'm going to pray. And I'm going to move on to bigger and better things. Let me throw this question out to everybody. And it's a typical, I guess, AA question or a typical mental health question anyways. The problems that we had 10 years ago don't exist today, correct? I mean, do you guys have any problems that they had 10 years ago? Like, can you think of a problem they had 10 years ago that's existing today? Well, you're special, but Beth, but what it is that we will get through all this stuff, right? We will push through all this stuff, no matter what it is, we will push through it. But the thing is, we have to have the faith, have to have the understanding of getting through it. What's your thoughts on that, Joe? Like somebody hanging on to the past, right? And not letting it go, right? And what's your thoughts on that?
When you first said we don't have the same problems of 10 years ago, the first thought that came to me, well, my ex-wife could still be a problem.
Yeah, well, yeah. I got two of those, so it could be a problem once in a while. But.
That's why I started to laugh when you said that. God, what was your question? Your question just now. Sorry.
Bambi, what was my question, Bambi?
I have no idea, Ed. I didn't write that down.
Gee, thanks, Bambi. I'm supposed to remember. I think it was I don't even know what I said. We're gonna have to rewind the tape and listen to it.
And don't you think that sometimes your problems from 10 years ago, you may still have some of those problems? It's how you deal with them and how
you handle them differently.
Right.
Yeah.
It's your reaction to them and how you react.
Yeah, I mean, but what I'm maybe I explained
right on, Bambi.
But but the problems, like the divorce. I was divorced 20 years ago, whatever. That's not a problem to me anymore. That is not an issue anymore. My car, when it broke down 10 years ago, that's not a problem to me anymore. You know what I mean?
Those are like situational. I thought you were really kind of digging in and saying, I still struggle financially. I'm making 10 times more than I was, but my relationship to money is something that like in 2022 is when I started to really be like, dude, you're going to be 50 soon. Like, get your shit together. And I like really started addressing my relationship with money. Right. And I think it says it in the big book, right? We have a relationship with everything. Mm-hmm. Right. So I have a relationship with you, I have a relationship with me, I have a relationship with my car, I have a relationship with money. Like, and that's where problems come from, right? What is my understanding, my experience, and my relationship to my ex-wife? Because the ex-wife is still your ex-wife.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here, I think the key. Okay, Joe.
Oh, sorry. I can tell you, share with you a problem that doesn't exist for me anymore today.
Okay.
Active addiction.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest blessing in my life.
I mean,
that was my biggest problem. Yeah.
Right. But if you think about it, that wasn't the problem. Alcohol is but a symptom, right? I still have the disease of alcoholism. So it's like, it's that underlying that problems don't go away. I think it's Bambi hit the nail on the head. I am always going to be me.
I would agree. Yeah.
How am I handling my substance use disorder? How am I handling my relationship to money? How am I handling my relationship with an ex-wife? You know what I mean? Like if you have kids with that person, you're tethered for like life.
I'm going to say one word, guys. One word, change. That's how we handle it. Change.
I would agree with everything Beth just said. What I was saying before for me is that being in active addiction was killing me. It was ruining my life. It destroyed it, really. I had a really bad bottom, So, yes, I'm progress, not perfection. I'm an ongoing forever. I will be, a work in progress. But to be sober today, I don't have a problem with alcohol today. I don't have a problem with cocaine today, So I still have to address the underlying causes. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Again, I'm an ongoing work in progress.
Growth, right? So, and I think it's perfect that we kind of got on this track because it's when we stop growing, it doesn't matter how long you stay sober. When you stop continuing to grow, when you stop moving in a different direction, when you stop challenging old ideas, that's when we drink again. Right. How many people did we see? Joe, you're an interventionist. How many people did we see drink during COVID? Where it's like the entire world
through the roof.
Yeah. It's like go the fuck home and no outside influences, no more running away from shit. Yeah. Like you're just stuck with yourself. Yeah. Joe, how many people did we see drink and just that year?
Yeah. Relapse or just, they already were having a problem, but it just totally took off during COVID. COVID sucked, guys. Yeah. It did so much.
I loved it. I was like, stay
Beth was like, I'm in the basement.
I hated it.
I'll be in my basement.
Well, guys, the thing I think we're talking about, again, change. Like if we don't change on a daily basis, and I'm not saying change your whole life 100% every single day, 3%, change your life 3% daily. And you'll see the growth that you have in a year. You'll see the growth you have in a month. You'll see the growth you have in a week. If we don't change our lives and kind of examine, like Joe was saying, I love the Lord. I love going to church. I love being part of that community. But I'm relapsing for some reason. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, so I'm being blocked by God and he's telling me to go to AA. change. Let's add not only God and church and community, let's add AA in now. Let's mesh those two together. Let's give Joe a tighter program. Let's give Joe more of a chance going on. And then what else did you change? I'm sure things, where you made your link stronger and stronger down the road, on top of that AA and your faith, and it just makes it stronger and stronger. I believe when you don't change and you don't take the suggestions, and this is a proven, I'm one of them. If you don't take the suggestions when you come out of rehab or you're brand new in recovery, you are fucked. 100% fucked. Sorry, guys, but you are
in there.
The true story.
It is.
Yeah,
it is true.
I did it for years. Yeah. I was in and out of different rehabs, and I didn't follow up. I didn't do what they told me to do until this last time.
Yeah,
me too. But that change, look at all the change. Seriously, if you're really working an AA program and you're really working the steps, how much change is that? So let's go back to the mental health. Don't you think that, a little mental health, some extra therapy, some extra evaluation of if you need an antidepressant, if part of that underlying feeling is depression, that will not be lifted without a little extra boost of serotonin or whatever, because look at the changes. You're taking someone like myself who was completely self-centered and self-absorbed, and you're saying, oh, by the way, now you need to pay attention to other people and not yourself.
Yeah.
So, there's so many changes if you work the true program of AA that everybody needs a little extra counseling or a little extra someone,
Yeah. Guys, we're going to wrap it up here. But Joe, I just want to real quick. We're talking about change. We're talking about faith. We're talking about being open-minded. What's your thoughts on the open-minded piece? If you can just close with it, as far as your faith, as far as your recovery goes, and where did that take you?
My open-mindedness in regards
towards God, towards recovery, towards change. Basically, we're talking about change, and we kind of wrapped it up with change. So change to me is open-mindedness. If you don't have an open mind, you're not going to change. Sorry.
Yeah. I had to, and maybe there's a reason why it's in the center. How, right? Honesty, openness, willingness, right?
Yeah.
I needed to do all three. And I did need to, Bambi, just like yourself, I was a chronic relapser. I went to 2 major rehabs and I don't know how many outpatients, IOPs and all that. Don't remember how many times I was hospitalized. And it was because my head was filled with old ideas, and I'd feel better for a time. And I thought, okay, I got this. It wasn't until I became honest and open and willing to do what was being suggested, as you said, Ed, to actually listen, right? And shut up and do, right? That I really, truly had a shot at recovery, and the openness part, I have to be open, right? My heart has to be open. My mind has to be open to my understanding of God, to the program, right? To other people's beliefs, right? I need to respect those, how they practice their own program. I need to be open to change. Right? I need to be open to change. And so openness is really important in recovery for me.
Absolutely. But, Joe, and the reason why I brought that up is because of where you're at today. And each one of us, Bambi and Beth, Bambi, in the short period of time that she's been in this program, she is very open-minded, very open to suggestions. And Beth and I, we wouldn't got this far if we didn't have that change in our lives. And that's why I asked the question, because I don't think you can work a good program it's probably a proven fact that you can't work a good program if you're not open to, like you said, honest, open, and willing. If your sponsor is going to tell you something to do something and you're not open to it, or you're not willing, and you're going to tell them, yeah, I'll do it, and you don't do it, again, that's the part where I said you're fucked. You're completely, you're done,
The other thing I would say about openness, Ed, sorry to interrupt.
No, good.
Is that I also had to open up, right? But for a long time, I had this wall, and I wouldn't let anybody in. I didn't want anyone to know, right? About me, about the things that I experienced as a kid, about my depression, about any of that, and so I had to open up too, right? So there's another part to openness.
Absolutely. There's a whole bunch of different parts,
type of openness.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Beth, what about you on openness, or even how, honest, open and willing?
100%. Like for me, I'm still like, me asking for help is like, it sucks. But that being honest is that first step, right? Being honest about what the problem is, honest about what my needs are, honest about where am I blocked. And then, being open to receiving from somebody else, receiving help, receiving feedback, receiving suggestions, and then the willingness to shift, right?
Yeah. Change.
To do what I'm told.
There you go. What about you, Bambi, and how?
Honesty is the first spiritual principle, right? So, I mean, you got to have that. You get that first. You have to be honest with yourself, which is something I wasn't willing to do for the longest time. To be honest to yourself, be honest to others, open, of course. I mean, and like Beth said, it's hard to ask for help,
Yeah.
And it's hard to be like honest viscerally. That's tough, So that's why, again, plug in that mental health, when you're getting down into, you're talking core into your heart, soul kind of things, you might need more than just a sponsor or, your fellow alcoholics. You may need someone to talk through the emotions and the feelings that are being brought up by that, being that willingness and honesty and openness inside yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great answer, Bambi.
Not to give a shout out late, but like watching Bambi, I don't think it's been quite a year that I've been here, but like just watching the progression and getting to know you, Bambi, like it's been such an honor to like kind of be a part of your path and like watch how you've conducted yourself and handled yourself, because people with your length of sobriety, like Joe, she doesn't even have 2 years yet. She just celebrated a fucking year. Like, I'm sorry.
When sounds like somebody who's been in the program for like
I know.
You. So like, dude, when I had a year sober, Bambi, like I couldn't get out of bed sometimes for 2 weeks at a clip at a year sober. I couldn't, I didn't graduate high school. I was sober. My dad still had a restraining order on me my first year sober. So it's like, just watching you, like you are such a gift to watch. You are such an example to follow. And like, I know I'm probably going all totally off track here, but I feel spiritually moved to say this. Like, you've had such an effect on my recovery because it has been a rough 6 months for me. Like, it sucked. But like watching you continue to be like viscerally honest about who you are and where you're at, and like seeing that picture, I think it was a picture of you and your daughter on Facebook. Like, I literally started crying. I was just like, it took me years to get that shit.
Yeah.
So like, if you're watching this, just do whatever Bambi does. Do not do what me and Ed do.
Yeah, no, just don't take our route.
Bambi does.
Joe too. Yeah, do what Joe does too. So.
Do what Joe and Bambi do. Don't be like me and Ed. Don't do it.
That's right.
Well, thank you. But you're part of my journey. I mean, being on here and us going through the steps and the traditions. I mean, I learned so much, studying and hearing you talk and everything. And, but again, I did work this program like my life depended on it, because I had tried for a long time to get sober and nothing helped. So,
yeah. And I'm going to bring it back to what Joe said and what we were talking about. This is part of our recovery. We can't just have one thing. I can't just come on this podcast once a week and think I'm going to stay sober. That's not going to be it. I have to put everything. I have to put those cushions around me, because if one falls off, I can still bump into something without getting hurt. Joe, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Like,
thank you.
Probably going to go sideways, and you're going to be like, well, I thought we were going to talk about this, and we talked about 20,000 different other things, but thank you so much. Yeah, you're a wonderful guest. Thank you for all the great knowledge. And I think, we'll get you back on. We'll talk more a little bit about faith and spirituality, because that's the way I wanted it to go, but that's not the way God wanted it to go today. And, that is great. Okay with me, It's
a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely, guys. Yeah.
Nice to be here with all of you.
Thanks, Joe. And remember, everybody, stay sober.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Friends in Recovery, The Addiction Recovery Podcast is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.